Anyways, follow us on Twitter at ghettoplex_mp4, on Instagram at ghettoplex.mp4, and on YouTube at ghettoplex. Megalopolis. There's going to be two very specific reactions to this film. The people who appreciate it because it is artistic, I guess. And then there's going to be everyone else. Where do I fall into all of this? Is this film a reflection of society? Well, if it was, I sure missed whatever message that was. The performances were definitely over the top, very exaggerated. The dialogue and interactions were either confusing or comically funny. I was very torn about the how I was supposed to feel because those, for the most part, I was just confused. I was like, "What's going on?" There was few stories that made sense, kind of, and then what was happening in those stories, the conversations between the characters, I was like, "Hey guys, what the fuck are we talking about here?" Because I just didn't understand. I was like, what's the point of these conversations we're having here? How is this advancing the story or your situations or developing any kind of character? I just don't know what I'm supposed to get out of this as the audience. The special effects and the graphics, some were good and some will definitely not age well. They've already not aged well. There was no age to begin with. They're just not well. But the ones that are really good really stand out. So cinematography, A plus, but the graphics accompanying those beautiful shots, some just really take you out of it. The film is very surreal and it seems like they were trying to be symbolic about stuff, and I'm not even sure if they were. I was missing out on all the symbolism, if in fact there even was symbolism. But like I said, the film is very dreamy, the world is dreamy, and sometimes nightmarish. A lot of these dream sequences, especially the montage type sequences, felt like there was no real purpose to them. There was no advancing of the story. I mean, in certain cases there were, but for the most part, a lot of it just felt directionless. I was thinking of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and that film may seem like a very bizarre dream, but the dream is actually taking you into a direction of this with the story, In Eternal Sunshine, the dream actually advances the plot and the characters, and we are going somewhere. We're on an adventure with them, and there is a destination. Though the ending of Eternal Sunshine is a little bit ambiguous, it's a little, do they end up back together or not? But the dreams have a purpose. I'm just going to go ahead and say it before we get into the spoilers. Normally, I would advise that you stay away, but for this film in particular, I'm not even going to advise that you go and watch this movie. So you might as well just stay for the spoilers. So we have this family feud between Adam Driver's character, whose name is Cesar, and Shia LaBeouf's character, whose name is Claudio. Shia LaBeouf's father in the film, his name is Hamilton, played by Jon Voight. And then we have this journalist who is played by Aubrey Plaza. Her name is Wow Platinum. Really cool name, right? Psych. Anyways, we also have Meyer Cicero, played by that guy from Breaking Bad, Gus, and his daughter Julia. So there's a lot of moving parts. Cicero also has this conflict with Caesar over an alleged murder of his wife, Caesar's wife. So Cicero, I guess he was a judge at some point, and he was trying to prosecute Caesar. So they have this whole backstory of this lawsuit that Caesar got away from. He was not convicted, not found guilty. And Cicero's daughter, Julia, she becomes an assistant of Caesar and eventually falls in love with him and bears his child. And this causes some conflict between Cicero and Caesar, which does later in the film create a difficult decision between the two characters, because Cicero, he has a little bit of a dark secret, a little bit of a dirty secret, and he withheld information that would have further cleared Caesar's name in this trial. And because he doesn't like him and he doesn't like that he's with his daughter, he offers a deal with Caesar and he says, "I will confess that I withheld this information that would have presumed you innocent faster if you just break up with my daughter." So that's one of the parts of the films where there is a difficult decision introduced that could have gone somewhere, but they never come back to it, so it was kind of pointless. Then we have Wow Platinum, who is also, I guess she's in love with Caesar, but it seems like she's kind of just a psychopath, so who knows what she really wants. But she uses Jon Voight's character, Hamilton. She basically takes the gold digger approach. He's a wealthy, powerful man, and she wants the wealth and the power. And she uses Shia LaBeouf's character, Claudio, as a catalyst to advance her plan. So there's this betrayal element of Claudio and his father, which is propagated by Wow Platinum. It's so weird to say her name like that, Wow Platinum. It doesn't even sound like you're saying a person's name. But on the backdrop of all of this family feud and feud between Mayor and Caesar, Mayor Cicero and Caesar, they are all trying to improve the city of New Rome. Caesar is a, I guess, genius designer. That's what he's known for. He's some kind of genius. And so he has blueprints for a plan called Megalopolis. And eventually you do get Megalopolis, but like I said earlier, the graphics, the special effects do not help to convince you that this Megalopolis is some great utopia, because it's just so ugly to look at. It kind of looks like Akon's mock-up for his future city in Africa. It's that ugly. The relationships in this film, like the romantic relationships in this film, get really messy. And I don't mean messy as in like dirty. I mean messy as in they're too intertangled and they don't really make sense. For example, Wow Platinum is in love with Adam Driver. I guess it's not really clear why she's in love with him, but because he isn't serious about her, she decides to marry his uncle, who is John Voight. Oh yeah, that's another thing I forgot to tell you guys. John Voight, Shia LaBeouf, and Adam Driver's characters, they're all related. So Hamilton and Claudio are father and son. That's John Voight and Shia LaBeouf. And then Caesar, who is Adam Driver, is the nephew or cousin, according to the other two. So Wow Platinum is in this love web, love triangle, I don't know what the hell you call it, this affair between all three of them, but more so with Hamilton and Claudio. So there's this messy relationship between the four of them. There's this sequence in the film that I really did enjoy watching, but it made no sense in the context of the film, and it was the Virgin Pledge sequence. That was definitely a visual spectacle, and I actually really liked the song, the Virgin Pledge song. I would say that's definitely my positive of the film. And this girl was I guess her virginity was being auctioned off. It's not really clear what the hell was happening in this circus, but apparently she was being auctioned off for her virginity, I assume. But they threw in this little bit of a twist where she wasn't actually a virgin. Her name was Justice Sweetwater, and a sex tape of her and Adam Driver's character was leaked, with this whole other scandal of her being a minor, but then they find her birth certificate and she wasn't actually a minor. But anyways, that didn't really add anything to the story. I guess it just kind of complicated Caesar's relationship with the city for a moment, not for that long, but it did cause some conflict for him. But it was resolved really fast, so it didn't really make sense why that scene needed to be there, even though I did enjoy that sequence the most. Then we have this satellite, this Russian satellite it's basically a dead satellite that comes crashing down onto the city. There wasn't much setup for that, and when it comes crashing down, I just don't understand what was the point of the satellite, to be honest. I guess it was to give them more reason to build Caesar's Megalopolis. I don't know. I'm sure that was the reason. Then we had this kid, he was like 12 years old. He attempts to assassinate Caesar, and I guess it kind of makes him a martyr in the city. But then later they don't like him, so it's weird because the kid tries to kill him, and then it kind of makes him a martyr. But then later everyone hates him again, and I don't even remember why they hate him again. Overall, though, I think if they would have just focused on the story of Aubrey Plaza's character trying to use the family feud to gain control and power for herself, I'm sure that would have been a more interesting direction to go into, because it seemed like that was the story with the most focus. And if they would have just driven all the focus to that story, I'm sure this film would have been much more coherent, but that's not what happened. So yeah, I don't know, take with that what you will. Anyways, where do I fall into this as far as the audience? The film is not good, but it's definitely funny. It's funny because it's a little bit outlandish and cartoonish at times. It's bad, but for some reason I kind of enjoyed it. I don't know if I would enjoy it in a second viewing, but I did definitely enjoy more than I think I would care to admit. Anyways, that was Megalopolis. Let me know if you saw the film and if you also just have no idea how to feel about this movie. Anyways, follow us on Twitter at Ghettoplex_MP4, on Instagram at Ghettoplex.mp4, and on YouTube at Ghettoplex. See you guys on the next one.